This is Short Hammer. It is the 7th of March, 2021, and this is Trading Zones. So last week was amazing, and I say amazing because the range was just tremendous, right? And whatever you were trading, prayerfully, those of you that were on the wrong side of that dip managed to exit some of your positions that may have been, taking a nice or sizable drawdown, and were able to follow on that pullback, follow the continuation to the downside, right before the buyback up. So, uh, so let's dig into the charts. Um, so we started up here around the 3880s, right? And that's a level that had to hold. It did not. We rolled through 3856. We see the hitch, back test through, didn't hold. Next stop 3817. You see the hitch. This is on the 4-hour chart now. If you want to go to the lower time frame, you'll see the breakdown. You can draw these lines in on your chart yourself. And we kind of were magnetic to this 3817s back into the 3840-ish area, right? But we couldn't hold. Continuation to the downside. And um, to be honest, I did expect this to go lower. And we're seeing this sort of dancing around, and we saw this buy back up. And so we basically closed almost, and we'll see if we get back up here on the 3880s on this push. But this reversal, which was tremendous, and to be honest, this was so funny. I actually ended up on the wrong side of a 200 point spike, but was able to scalp a chunk of that back one day, and sort of it sort of worked itself out over the next day, right? But it was amazing because I was really not paying attention. A lot of us multitask while we were trading, and sometimes you have other things going on. And I was not even watching that spike, but neither here nor there. So what's awesome is this range allows you to be wrong, to be able to exit, to be able to get back in on the right side of the movement and be able to capture massive gains, right? Just got to be paying attention. So for this upcoming week, watch the 3850, see if we can get above that. If not, watch the back test into the 3817 area. We do wonder, right, if this yeah, we'll have to see if 3817, if we get over 3850s, 3850s, we see how that plays out. um with the passage of the stimulus package, we do wonder how that will impact the market, right? So the jobs numbers weren't really that bad on Friday. They were actually pretty good. And we have to see at some point there'll be an infrastructure bill. So the cries that the market is dead may be a little bit premature. We did get a nice pullback here. But if we look at this, and this is how you kind of do want to have perspective on it, right? If we look at this, right, and you want to have perspective. So this is um December 2020. Look where we were, right about 37.48, right? So even though we had this slight dip beginning of January, we did not have a close on the daily below this 37.40s area, which was the high, right, of 2020. So if that's the case, right, even on this dip, all we did was go back to where we were in December for 2020 and the end of December. So yes, we did have a nice steep dip, but don't let that um, sort of take your eye off the ball. We're still bullish. We're still trending up if you're looking at this multi-year time frame, and the overall uptrend is still intact, in my opinion. Does that mean that we won't sell more? Not at all. But we did not sell through December highs, right? We held those levels. Even though we did go down there and we did test them, right? We held those December highs. So we'll see where the market goes from here. Look at that dip right into that area. We didn't sell through. So we just on the, I'm talking about on the daily chart, just as far as closing, we didn't close down there, right? And so for me, what I'll be watching, go back to our 4 hour chart, is will there be a pullback? And I do expect there to be a pullback. And my question is like, okay, well, will we gap up? That's the question too, right? Based on the stimulus package being signed. Will there be a pullback? And on that pullback, will the buyers have the confidence to step in and drive us higher? And so that's what I'll be watching for next week, will be continuation. Um, Market is crazy. Don't feel compelled to be heavy as far as going full size. I've been stating the last few weeks, sort of scale down until you're sure that you're comfortable with the movement of the market and with the news, what's going on with the news cycles and things that are being pushed out there. Don't get caught. You could really just scale down until the year sort of shapes up, and you begin to sort of be able to oh, excuse me, and you sort of be able to, you begin to be able to see the sort of the thesis, like where are we going this year, where are we going this quarter. If you can't figure that out yet, just keep it light until you can. Last year was just buy all the dips. This year may be different. We have to wait and see. RTY, and same thing. Look at the dip, buy back up. Look at that spike. We have to see if we're able to buy through the 2190s and pop the 2211s. We'll see how that shakes out on the RTY. But look at this dip, right? Just look at this. This was just on the fourth. Look at that. Just that movement is amazing. I love this market. So what we're watching for is the 2199s, 2211s, 2234s to the downside, 2172s, 2153s, and 2111s. If you had just from any of the previous weeks copied these levels onto your charts, right? When we hammered into the 2111s, just look at this. And you saw this buy back up. Look at the next test. And if you look at the lower time frame, you'll be able to sort of see how things ride these lines. You got your buy. And maybe whatever you use, oscillators or um, just standard deviation, whatever you're using, EMAs, whatever you use to volume, whatever you use to be able to pick your levels of, what is your trigger to get in. It probably would have fired down here on this candle. Okay, let's keep it moving. Go to Amazon. And yes. So, what we always like to talk about is first touch, right? And the thesis was, if we remember, um, 3080, 3220 channel in for months, right? We were above that. We came back to it. That's worrisome. That we didn't hold the 3190s, that's also worrisome. So then what you expect is a test of the bottom of the channel. We did that, right? Broke through the bottom. What do we do when you break through the bottom of the channel? We do expect on this extension down here that there will be a back test of the channel. That's the expectation. What do we get? A back test of the channel. And they even tried to push us back up. But 3140s, there was a little bit of turbulence, right? And then we back tested onto the channel. Look at that. Look at this candle. Buy back up out of the 3080s. Couldn't quite reach the 3140s and sold back through that bottom. Once you make this lower low, look at that. Right? Pull back right into the 2950s. First touch of 2950s, you have to look at it. But there was like a 30 point, 40 point bounce, right? Within this candle. And you have to look at the sort of the lower time frame to see that. Then drop back down 2880s. Look at this. you basically could have bought on every first touch of these lines on the extension. I'm not recommending that because what you want to see before you get in, regardless of if you see my levels, right? And you think these levels are the gospel, regardless of what you think. It could be me, it could be anyone out here that's giving you levels and giving you these entries. You wait for your triggers to fire because you want to enter something because of your conviction, not because of someone else's, but because of your conviction on the play. And so whatever you would have had that would have given you the trigger here, that was a nice bounce, right? This, nice, right? And so all I'm saying is watch your levels. This upcoming week, we got to get through the 3020s. Then we'll watch the 3068s. But in my opinion, that we're below, and this is what's so funny, right? That could be interesting. The same way we broke through the top of this channel, back tested, and we just couldn't stay above. That same thing may happen here, where we broke through the bottom, and what you expect on the break through the bottom is an extension, right? We wanted 100 to 150 points of extension to the downside on this break, right? Look at this. That's beautiful. So now we're expecting a buy back up potentially. Let's see if we get it back into the 3080s. That'd be great. And let's see what happens then if it's sort of like this, where we get back inside, get another extension through. We don't know what we're going to see here, how this market's going to shape up. But with the stimulus package being signed, that money is going to be spent. And with numerous states opening up, and I think they did this on purpose. With that money entering into consumers' hands, they want them to be out shopping. And so, for those states that opened up, their plans are probably for people to receive those stimulus checks and then go out and stimulate the economy with them. So we'll see how that works out. But this is interesting on Amazon where it is right now. That we're back above the 2950s. That's great. We have to see, and this is what we expected, right? Remember what we said? We expect to touch the 2950s, max extension of the 2880s. Beautiful. And if you want to look at this as, something to see of what could happen, the pattern, maybe we see this run right back up into this area here around the 3190s. That's possible, right? But for me, I'm going point to point, and I'm probably going to play verticals on this just because level to level, beautiful setups. But watch your levels: 2950s hold, 2880s held. So this holds. Watch the test of the 3020s. If we get that, if we get a gap through, that opens up the 3068s, and the 3080s are still there. I'll be drawing this line all the way across top and bottom so that we have those levels. Let's keep it moving. About to pick up the pace a little bit. Um, Always so much to do. Netflix, we did mention below this area, right? Back tested the uptrend long term, or I say medium term uptrend. And we couldn't find, and this is your sign, right? Look at these upper wicks here. We could not find buyers above the 550s, which was a previous level, if we remember that we have not spent multiple days above the 550s previously on Netflix. We kept on selling back below, and the extension, now we didn't hit where we kind of expected, which is the 470s, right? Which is the bottom of this super wide channel, you could call it, on Netflix, right? We didn't quite get there, and I'm not saying that we won't, but we're back up here into the five teens. Let's see if we gap up. For me, if we don't get back over the 530s, like the 535-ish area, then we can sell all the way back down to the 470s. So we'll see how this plays out. That does not mean not to get long. That, in my opinion, right? If this thing pulls back and gives a great setup on the intraday, that does not mean not get long. But that means that I probably wouldn't be swinging this unless I see something that tells me that this is going to buy through the 530s. It depends on where it is and what's your time horizon, right? What's your goals? What are you looking for? Are you looking for 5 points? Looking for 10 points? Are you looking for 50 points? So that's how I look at these levels, right? That we bought off the 504s and 507s, and we're squeezing back up. Is there a potential we could touch the 520s? The 5 teens is the midpoint. Could we touch the 529-ish area? It's possible, right? But we have to see how this shakes out. So watch these lines: the 529s, 535s, 542s, 550s. We got to be bullish above 550s for me, in my opinion, for us to be squeezing and for us to be bullish. We need to be above the 550s. but we can sort of ping around and bounce around in this area, right? And we'll see how the positive news that's flowing into the market, how that affects sort of this upcoming week's buying. Like if people are now excited to buy again, or if some of those people that got rolled last week on their long positions are a little bit more skittish and are looking for multiple days of buying before they really begin to step in, right? So we'll see how that works. But five we did hit an extension down to the 499-ish area. Um, but I'd prefer it if it went down to the 493-ish area. That'd have been better for me. But this is we'll see if there's continuation in this bounce that we saw into the close on Friday. NVIDIA and separation below these lines. Look at the 475s. Buyer stepped in, gave us a squeeze back to the upside. What are we going to wait to see? Can we clear the 514s? Clear the 514s. There's a potential we might catch a hitch into the 530s, but that's what I'll be watching for on NVIDIA. If we don't get over the 514s, then you may see an intraday setup that allows you to fade that level. Facebook. Love Facebook. So drop into the 250s. Look at these lower wicks. What's that tell you? There's no selling pressure below the 254 area. This is what this tells you, right? So if you're long this in the 260s, you're going to run into some little bit of turbulence. And 264.15 is another level to watch for. And so we see these upper wicks above this level. So what we want to see is a buy above the 264s and a pop to the 267.50s, right? This line is here. Could not get over it. Isn't that interesting how that works? And so it's almost as if we're in a mini channel here between the 254s and the 264s, about 10 points. Let's see how this resolves itself. If we don't get an extension through the 267s, this thing's going right back down. Watch the 261s, then watch the 254s at the bottom. There is a slight hitch in the 263s, but I wouldn't put too much stock on that right now. Microsoft. So what we were expecting, right, is that could we be bullish above the 234s on Microsoft, right? They tried, couldn't hold, sold back through. When we sold back through 231s, we see the back test here, but we couldn't get enough of a hitch here. If you're looking at the higher time frame, on lower time frame, we did see a hitch, but look at this selling, right? For me, this is like slightly mid-airish, but you see this hitch here from the 20th of January into the 22nd of January. Also, these tops here. So we dropped right into that area. The buyers did step in and gave us a squeeze back to the upside. Will this continue? We'll see. We're above the 231s, which opens up the 234.80s. If we don't hold above the 231s, then watch the 229.50s. And then on this drop, watch these lower lows here around the 227s down into the 224s. The lower line's at 221, but the 226s is the reason why that probably held. If you could look back, right, this level, all through here, we see a little bit of reversals, and previous supply can become a demand pocket, right? That's what that did. It became a demand pocket, dropped down into that level heavy, bought right back up out of it overnight. Apple 119s. We did sort of paint that here on the 23rd. It looks like it's like February. We did see some dips here. 25th. Then boom. The 4th to the 5th. Okay, cool. So what do we want to see on Apple? Apple needs to get over the 121s, squeeze into the 124s, and then we need an extension into the 127s for it to regain that level. Then we can be off to the races, right? But there's just a lot of little minefields in between this 127 area and where we are at the 121s. Don't be surprised if the market can gap up on Monday, right? We'll see how this shakes out. Me, I have zero predictions. I'm just waiting for this to unfold and then looking for some easy trades. But watch the 119s. That's the line that we have right here. Above that, the 121.90s, 124.70s, and 127.45s. Below the 119, we have 116.90s and 113.90s on Apple. They said quite a few Apple stores were opening back up, so that could have been part of the reason for this run up here. But just the overall market sort of closed and tried to move more bullish than not. So we'll see how that plays out headed into the open on Monday morning. Intel. So Intel dropped right into the channel. Buyers stepped in right around the 58.30s, pop above the 58.80s, run right back into the top of the channel. We'll see. We see an extension here. We have not, as of late, had a problem breaking above these 61s, the 61-ish level. We'll see how that plays out over the coming weeks. But nice setup here. Nice buy back up here on Intel. And remember that, quite a few of the tickers that were down, they weren't actually down because there was any sort of negative news around that ticker. It was just sort of the overall market sentiment, right? So if you have stocks that beat earnings and have strong guidance and nothing has changed in their business, on these types of sales, it's a discount. That's when you're looking to step in to purchase a few shares or contracts, and get into something because you believe that sort of the reason for it being down is a little bit bogus, right? And that your expectation is once, cooler heads prevail, that the blue chippers, these tickers that, have these great investment situations where they're making money hand over fist, that that cream will rise back to the top, right? You sort of want to catch it on the dip. So we'll see um how this plays out. Just as far as those blue chippers, right? Got to be careful. Blue chip or not, got to be careful. But there was a nice liquidation event that quite a few people are taking advantage of. We'll see if there's a continuation or if they just exit on the pop and the push. Goose, nice dip here. What were we saying? Above the 47.40s, got to get an extension above that. We really couldn't, not during the intraday. We did retrace back through the 43.90s. The buyers are stepping back in. We have to see if we can see bulls above the 47.40s on Goose. That's if you're bullish. If you're bearish, you want this bad boy to be below the 40.20s, and you want ferocious selling. Dollar Tree, they did have earnings coming up. We did mention these levels. Look at this pop. Beautiful thing. So on Dollar Tree, did I look at their earnings? Not even a little bit. The week was just so there's so much range. Just didn't really do too much research during the week. But just because I had no plans to use it, right? And so time is valuable. I was not going to waste it studying something that I wasn't going to use anyway. So that was, I wasn't going to dig into this earnings report because to me it wasn't super relevant. There were so many other tickers to trade that had just insane range. So what we want to watch for, do we hold the 101s? Can we see extension into 106s? If so, break through the 108s, 111s open up. If we don't hold this 101.90s area, we could sell back into the 97.70s. Excuse me. But the first place I would watch is right in this area, right around the 160s to the 100 hole. That's the area I'll be watching. Why? Pushed up, wicks, rejection, wicks, rejection, wicks, rejection. Flare down, buy up, flare down, buy up, flare down, buy up, flare down, buy up. The buyers and sellers are telling you that this $100 slash 60 160 cent area, um that this right in this area there's a little bit of contention, and we were below that area it was a supply pocket. Now that we're above that area, it's become a demand pocket. Tesla. So Tesla, nice dip here. Sophie, I know you got paid. This is your fate. Like this is almost as amazing. Gotta love Tesla. That's basically the same. Is that the same area you called last time? Here. That's it here. This was your dip, I think. Right. A little bit lower this time, actually. Yeah, a little bit lower this time. Uh, Not really. Look at that. That's funny. That may have been your level last time, right? Right here. Look at this candle. That's hilarious. But we'll have to see. Buyers did step back in though. And if we remember, the statement that we made back here was we would not be getting long the 780s unless we saw buying above the 819s. Never saw that. They dropped this bad boy. Couldn't have predicted it, but look at this level to level. Hitch here, sell through, back test that hitch, extension down. So what we were watching for on Tesla, we wanted above the 616s. Then we wanted to be challenged in the 650s, the 713s, and the 780s. It really needs to get back above the 780s, in my opinion, to be super bullish. Um, to the downside, what we have is the 580s, 579s, 568s, 562s, 554s. We'll see if that holds. If we sell below the 540s, yeah, 540s altogether, this could be interesting. We could really get some selling in if that happens. ZM, haha, look at this sell. Beautiful. And we caught a hitch. What's this level? Almost the 410s. We sold right through the 390s, which has been a good area to step in, whether you're trying to fade that area or belong that area. Sold through that area, through the 370s, saw a slight reversal, back to the 390s, and sell back through the 370s. Look at that. Beautiful setup here. So what are we watching for? If we can't get back above the 340s, then we've got more downside on the horizon on Zoom. If we get above the 340s, then that does open up a potential squeeze into the 350s and to the 370s. We have to see how that shakes out with Zoom. Lots of theories. Um, the workforce, people going back to work, the the vaccines. Not going to talk about any of that. ZM, interesting. Nice dip. Um, could almost predict it post earnings that sort of the numbers were in order whenever a company is running, right? It's like GameStop. GameStop was up insane. And, when they have earnings, the chances of them having earnings that support a valuation of 350 or 400 or 500, some of those insane nosebleed areas that ran to while everyone was still so euphoric with that move, the company's not that valuable. I mean, not saying it's not a valuable company, but it's not worth $400, $500 per share is my at this time. That's sort of what I'm thinking. Um, let's take a peek at CI. CI is going BANANAS. Look at that. Held the 202s, cleared the 206s, the 215s. Look at this squeeze. Off to the races, right? And this may be all-time highs. And what will I be doing on this squeeze? Strong tickers usually get stronger, right? And weak tickers usually get weaker, right? So for me, I'm going to look for a continuation play on CI next week. It has to clearly present itself, but I love this break. We'll see how far we can go. Goldman Sachs trading this with pivots, just nuts. I love this squeeze. Um, I'm going to take the time to draw some lines for those that don't have sort of the power of pivots installed. So this is amazing. And yeah, this is just amazing. So financials still being financials. We'll have to see if, huh, look at that. This is just nuts. If this continues to the upside, because I don't have any lines here, I am not going to get too much into this, but this will pull back at some point. We'll see when that happens. Um, but just the strength is nuts on Goldman Sachs. SPY is going to look the same, but look at this retracement here on SPY. Nothing up here, but look at this, right? that nice drop right into this area around the 379.80s, 378s. Look at the reversal. Another nice drop, back test 380s, sell through, 370, buy back up. Just interesting, right? So we want to clear the 385s, then the 388s on the SPY. If not, watch for a break below this 380, 320s, and that opens up the 379.80s and 378.40s. We'll have to see how that plays out. If you like this video, please go right on ahead and tap that like button. And if you'd like to receive more content from me or content from Elisa as she shows you how she utilizes her power of pivots script to find great pre-market entries, intraday entries, and swing plays and post-market entries, right? Um, please subscribe to our channel, the power, or should I say, Power of Pivots. That's our YouTube channel. Check that bad boy out, and just please have a safe trading week. Be careful, and enjoy what's left of the weekend. Another day, depending, and have a wonderful week of trading. Let me run. I am super sleepy, but not going to sleep right now. Got some more work to do. Enjoy your trading week.